Hi, my name's Jen Milliken. I'm with Stotz Dairy in Buckeye, Arizona. So my parents started the dairy 43 years ago. I came back to the dairy about 13 years ago, and I've been managing it ever since with my dad and my mom working beside me. I'm gonna be your guys' adopt-a-calf farmer this year. I am so excited that you guys are gonna get to follow along this year and watch your calves grow up. So this is where you're gonna learn everything about a calf, from the day she's born up until she is a full-grown milk-producing cow. You're gonna learn about how they live, what they eat, how we treat them if they get sick. You're gonna learn about how we grow their food, and anything else you need to know. And in fact, I'd love to hear your guys' questions. So please, if throughout the year you guys have questions about cows, send them my way. I'd love to answer them. So we have a couple of different kinds of cows here at Stotz Dairy. We have the black and white cows, which are called Holsteins, and we have the brown cows, which are called Jerseys. There's a reason we have different kinds of cows. It's because they make different kinds of milk. It's all the same really milk, but Holstein milk is actually, Holsteins will make a lot more milk. Like a good Holstein can make 13 to 14 gallons of milk a day, but it's lower in fat and protein. Jerseys make less milk. They'll make more like the 6 to 8 gallons of milk a day, but it's a lot higher in fat and protein. So what I like to say is that Holsteins make the milk that is good for drinking milk, and Jerseys make the milk that is better for like cheese and ice cream. There's other differences in the cows actually too. Cows are the same. Holsteins are more the leave me alone kind of cow. They're live and let live. They do their own thing and they don't really want to be bothered. Versus Jerseys, if you go up to the fence, every Jersey in the pen is going to come run over and see what you're doing. So we have lots of calves born every day here on the dairy. When they're born, we have them over at maternity. We have people that work 24 hours a day in maternity. They keep an eye on the mom cows, and they're there to provide assistance if the mom needs it, but most of the cows are able to give birth on their own. So what they're really there for is to help take care of the baby after it's born. So when the baby is born, the very first thing is they will dip her umbilical cord, which is where your belly button is. Cows also have one. They dip it with iodine, which is a special kind of soap that makes sure that she won't get an infection on it. Then they give her her first set of vaccinations to help make sure that she doesn't get any problems like pneumonia or stomach problems. Inside here, they'll get milk twice a day. Sorry, this one's very excited. They'll get milk twice a day, and then they also get all the grain they can eat. It's corn, molasses, which is like pancake syrup, and then vitamins and minerals. And it's formulated by a nutritionist who knows exactly what the calves need to make sure that they are growing the 1.5 pounds a day while they live here. The calves will be inside this barn here for 2 months. You can see up on the calf card, we have what their number is, their birthday, who their mom was, and then anytime they need any treatment because they got sick or maybe they look a little bit dehydrated, anything like that, we'll write it down. But after that, we'll go to the milk barn. We get milk fresh out of the tank. We mix it with different vitamins and minerals and some electrolytes to make sure that the calf is getting everything she needs, because we're expecting them to gain over 1.5 pounds a day while they're in the calf barn. On the first day, this calf is actually only 2 days old. It takes a little bit of training to teach them how to drink out of the buckets, but you'll see later that they get it pretty quickly, and as soon as somebody comes by and puts the milk in their buckets, they are just sucking it out. It's their favorite part of the day. They drink it out of the bucket as fast as they can, and then they'll put their heads together and they'll start sucking it off of each other's faces, because everybody knows milk is good to the last drop. So when the calves are 2 months old, we graduate them from the calf barn, which, like I said, cow daycare. We take them outside to cow elementary school, which is stage 2 is what we call it. But the calves will be out here until they're 7 months old in these small pens. When we bring them outside, like I said, we put them on a trailer, we weigh them to make sure that they're gaining enough weight, and then we put them outside in small pens in groups of 25. And that way they kind of learn how to socialize, they learn how to get along with each other in a group, and as they get bigger, we'll start moving them into bigger and bigger pens until they're, in this area, they'll be in pens of about 120 calves. So when they're out here, they still have the grain that they got inside the calf barn, but when they're 3 months old, we start adding a little bit of alfalfa to it. Alfalfa, or like sometimes I know you guys like to call it hay. And that's because that's when they're old enough that their stomach is working enough that they can start to digest it. It's really good fiber. And did you guys know that cows actually have 4 parts to their stomach? So it's kind of interesting. When the cows eat the food, they're kind of just sucking it down as fast as they can. And later on, when they get time, you'll see sometimes cows out in a field just sitting there chewing. It's called chewing their cud, because what they do, they take the food in as fast as they can, and then when they have time, they'll go lay down and they actually kind of burp it back up into something called cud, and then they chew it again and swallow it again. And then they have microbes in their stomach that help them break it down and take all the nutrients out of it. Also, one thing that they get is a magnet. So a lot of times, like I said, cows eat really fast. If there's any metal that gets in their food because, I don't know, somebody littered out in the alfalfa field and they eat it, sometimes it can actually poke through their stomach and it starts hurting them, and it might actually cause big problems. So we put magnets in their stomachs, and it just sits there for their whole life, and it'll attract all of that metal that they might eat, and that way they stay safe and the metal doesn't poke out of their stomach and start wreaking havoc inside their body. So the calves will be out here until they're 7 months old. They get to hang out with their friends all day. They have fresh water in the pens, and they still have the flush rate here, so that when they're eating, it's kind of in one end and out the other. This is where they do a lot of their pooping and peeing. We can flush all that out, and it goes down to the methane digester. So we're over here at the heifer area, or kind of what we consider teenage cows. So this is what I lovingly call cow high school. So this is where all the cows go after they get out of cow elementary school. They cross the road and they come over here to cow high school. They will hang out here from when they're 8 months old until they're 14 months old. And when they're 14 months old, that's when they first start trying to get pregnant so that they can have their first baby when they're 2 years old. So they just hang out here. They barely have any interaction with people, so they are a little bit skittish. They're kind of the crazy cows, but I mean, that's a teenager thing, right? So they hang out, they play games with their friends in the pen, and somebody asked me if cows get zoomies. If there's any cow that's gonna get the zoomies, it's gonna be these cows. Sometimes they will just start running around the pens like crazy, and they're just having a great time. We're at the milk barn here. This is actually our biggest milk barn, and really it's 2 milk barns. We have each half of the cows, and each side can milk 80 cows at a time. So that's 160 cows at a time that can be milked here. We have 2 other milk barns on our other location. We have a double 20 and a double 30. The double 20 is the oldest barn. It's the one that we started with. It's actually been remodeled quite a few times over the years. And then the double 30 is the one that we built in 1995. All the cows come to the milk barn 3 times a day. There's actually robot dairies where the cows get to pick when they want to be milked, and they actually pick around 3 times a day. So that's what we've decided to do, because if the cow wants to be milked 3 times a day, we're going to do what's best for the cow. We make it so that the cows like to come into the milk barn. It feels good for them to get milked. When their udder gets full of milk, it can get a little bit full feeling. So one of the milkers will go out to the pen 3 times a day, opens the gate, rounds up all the cows, and puts them into the back holding pen. It used to be the sprinkler pen, but in order to be mindful of our resources and make sure that we're doing all the conservation we can, we actually ended up turning the sprinklers off. We did a trial where we turned the sprinklers off on one of the milk barns, but not the other one, just to see if it made any difference. And the milk quality was the same, and the cows weren't getting any sick. And so we just decided to go with it, because if you can save water, you should, especially here in Arizona. So the cows will go into the back holding pen. When it's their turn, they go into the front holding pen, and then they'll start lining in to the milk barns to get milked. On this dairy, like I said, they'll go in 40 at a time on either side. And they'll come in, and the first thing that happens is that one of the milkers will go, and he or she will take a couple of squirts from each teat to start telling the cow, hey, it's time to get milked. Because cows have a hormone called oxytocin that's in their brain, and it takes around 60 to 90 seconds for that hormone to make it from the cow's brain down to the udder. And that's what tells her udder it's time to turn on and start letting the milk out. So the first milker will come through, and they'll take a couple of test squeezes from each teat. They're checking for quality to make sure that the milk is the best quality, that there's nothing wrong with it. And then they're also, like I said, telling the cow that it's time to be milked. They'll do 10 cows at a time because that's how long that it takes for the cow's oxytocin to reach from her brain down to her udder. And then they'll come back and they will use the teat scrubber, which is what I like to, it's kind of like a cow car wash. It has the spinning things, like if you guys have ever been inside of an automated car wash, and they'll use it to clean off the cow's udder. And that's, again, just to make sure that we're getting the highest quality milk. It's the cleanest and it doesn't have anything on it. After he or she goes through and cleans off all the teats, then they'll come back and attach the milking machines. The machines use a combination of vacuum and pulsation to get the milk out. So if you think of this as like a cow's teat, it just squeezes and it gently sucks on it, and that way all the milk comes out. It'll go into the little plexiglass bulb, and then it'll go through the tube, down the pipes, and through the chiller, where it goes from the cow's body temperature, which is around 101 degrees, down to below 38 degrees in like that 37-degree range. So after the cows get done milking, there's actually an automatic takeoff sensor in there. It can tell when the cow doesn't have any milk left, and the machine will come off automatically. When all the cows are done milking, the milkers will come through and they'll post-dip the cow. It's with iodine. Again, it's that special soap that we use to kill bacteria. So they're putting that on the teats to make sure that while the cow is still fresh from being milked and the end of her teats are still open, that no bacteria take that opportunity to climb up and get her sick. We're doing that because it helps keep the milk as fresh as possible while it's in the big tank until the milk truck can hook up. And then the milk truck hooks up, he's taking samples of the milk that they will run through the lab to make sure that there's no antibiotics in it. So the milk is actually never touched by human hands. It's as clean as we can get it. We filter it, they pasteurize it at the plant. It's fresh, it's clean, it's healthy, it's awesome, it's milk. So we're out here now in the outside cow house. So this is where the cows live when they're not in the milk barn. So this is where they spend almost their entire day. These ladies just got back from the milk barn, so they're up and they're eating, and because the feed truck will have come by while they were in the milk barn, they got fresh food, so that's what they're doing. You see, to help make sure that we're keeping them as comfortable as possible, we have fans and misters, and then on the west side of the pen, we'll have big curtains that come down when the sun starts to set to make sure that the shade doesn't migrate out so that they're not where the shade is. They have water troughs in their pens, multiple of them that they can pick from, so they can each have their own favorite water trough. And then this is where they will be worked on if they have any issues that can be taken care of in the pen. The breeders come in, and that's actually one fun thing. You'll see on a lot of cows, they'll either have an orange or a green stripe on their back. Orange means that she is not pregnant, and green means that she is pregnant. Cows can only make milk if they've had a baby, and then that's also how we make sure that we have cows for the future. The cows have a new baby every year. So in order to make milk, a cow has to have a baby first. She's a mammal, and that's how they do it. It's the same thing with any other mammal. People, dogs, cats, elephants, they all have to have a baby before they make milk. The cow will have her first baby on her birthday, and on her second birthday. The way that I like to think about it, if it's for dogs, it's 1 dog year is about 7 people years. With cows, it's about 10 years. So if you say that she has a cow on her second birthday, that means that she'll be about 20 years old. After that, she'll have a cow once a year. She'll be pregnant for 9 months. So the time that she's not pregnant is either right after she had the baby, we give her a rest period. She'll then get pregnant. We milk her up until right before it's time to have the baby. At that point, we dry her off. She doesn't milk. She's in the back 40 in a pen with all of her friends, and she's just hanging out all day long. And her main job is to make sure that she's growing the baby good. And then we will move her in what's called the close-up pen, which is cows that are going to have a baby within the next 3 weeks. So now we're at the cow commodity barn, which is essentially the cow kitchen. This is where we keep all of the different feed ingredients that we mix up to feed to the cows every day. And cows get fed 3 times a day. Heifers, which are the young teenage cows, get fed once a day, but we pile it all up so that they can come up and eat all day long whenever they want. And then also calves get fed once a day. We just pile it up high. He's taking some hay, some corn silage. We have a lot of different things that we feed that are actually byproducts of the human food cycle. Actually, 40% of the food that we feed the cows is something that would have ended up in a dump if cows weren't eating it. So again, like I said, sustainability, instead of filling up the landfills, we're turning it into the edible dairy products. So you can see behind me, the loader will take big scoops of food. They have a scale in the bucket of the loader, and also they measure it with the bucket, and there's a scale inside the wagon. When he dumps the food, he's getting how much he's already put in there. He's following the recipe that our nutritionist came up with, and it gets measured so that we make sure that we're mixing the food appropriately. Now we are at the methane digester. So cows, like I said, they make a lot of poop, and there's water that we have to use on the dairy for washing stuff, for keeping the cows cool, and to make sure that the milk barn is as clean as possible. I think you saw earlier how we flush the toilet for the calves. We collect all of that water. We're using it responsibly. That means that we are going to use it multiple times. We only use fresh water in a few places on the dairy. The rest of it, we're reusing that water a couple of times before it comes down here and it goes into the big lagoon. We covered the lagoon with a big tarp, and that's what contains all of the methane gas. We turn it from gas into electricity. Part of that is because we're tied into a conversion station that was really close. It's less than a quarter mile away. So that's why they decided we were a good candidate for it. We actually make enough electricity here with this one methane digester to power 500 households. So again, like I said, doing our part to make sure that we're taking care of the environment. I am so excited that you guys are gonna follow me along this year. We're gonna watch your calves grow up. We're gonna have a great time. Thank you.